Chambers Model U, owned by Richard Singer by Andy and Johnny Carr. $1067 is a 1982 Ford 4600 owned by Connor Wooden, Innishannon, County Cork. $972 994, sorry, it's 1972 Metro 1607. A John Deere 31 40 with a homemade lot on it, built in 1986, owned by Michael Crowley, the halfway man and half the County Cork. Following that is 1072, it's a 1974 International Cub Cadet, and that's owned by James Brown, Arthur Winter. $1623, the Massey Ferguson 35, it's owned by Evan O'Leary, Balance Courtney in Innishannon. Very green, right? And 1624. Better Crystal, built in 1977, and that's owned by Rian O'Mahony from Windsor Oven. $1613 is a Ford Dexter 2000, owned by Jack Murphy, Ballygreen, Upton, Innishannon, County Cork. 1088 1992 Ford $1088, 1992 Ford 6810, owned by James Enright, Kinsale, County Cork. 1056 So 1056 was a 1958 International owned by Charlie Parsons of Manly, County Cork. 1007 is a 1942 Fordson Major owned by John Kelleher, Aherla, County Cork. John. $1109 is a 1972 Zetter, 55018, owned by Norma Hanlon of County Cork. $967 is a 1962 Duffield 342 owned by Liam Cotton, Manly, County Cork. What? Just have a David Brown 990 going through. the Ferguson, the 20s come in as well, please. Any more tractors to make their way into the main arena now for the final parade? Thanks. So just to say that stewards that Lewis Anthony has been found. So thank you to the stewards, Lewis Anthony has been found. 985 there was the 1946 Alice Chambers by Martin Enright and Bandon. 1066. 1970 David Brown 990, and that was owned by Alan Wilson of County Cork. Next up is 981, that's going to be a 1994 7610. Two-wheel drive owned by Jim DeCourcy, Douglas, County Cork. One 1046. Is a 1986 Massey Ferguson 675 owned by Philip O'Connor, Ovens, County Cork. Next up is 1064, 1968 Nuffield 1060. Owned by Tim Hemlock. And Tim Hemlock's getting a little special presentation today. Tim has been coming to the rally for a long number of years and is one of the longest, probably the oldest member of the tractor group coming to the rally still. So as a recognition for his years of commitment and service and coming to the rally, we'd just like to make a little presentation to Tim. Well done, Tim. Next up is 962. 962 is a 1958 International owned by Liam Buckley, Belgooly, County Cork. Next up is a Zetter 4718. 1953 Ferguson, owned by with the first of our Ferguson T20 group. Following him is 715 with 1953 Ferguson Paddy Cronin from Kildine and Cork. After that is 713, which is the 1950 Ferguson 20 diesel, and that's Dermot Collins, Bandon, County Cork. 719 is next up. That's the 1953 Ferguson 20 diesel, owned by Foster Hayes and Ballinhassig. 716 is next. That's the 1955 Ferguson and Slough, owned by Neil Crowley from Innishannon. 1100, 1939 Matthew Harris 101 Super, owned by Donald and Jack O'Callaghan up in County Cork. 970 is next. That is the 1948 Fordson, owned by Declan Cotter Kinsale. 1036 is the 1972 Matthew Ferguson, owned by Patrick Murray, Carricknavar, County Cork. 1035 is a 1972 Matthew Ferguson 168. It's owned by Darren Murray, Carricknavar, County Cork. Next up, Needlessly Hand with a Matthew Ferguson 133. Is the 1981 Marshall 2-wheel drive, owned by Kevin McCarthy, followed by 1021 1985 Marshall 4-wheel drive, owned by Kevin McCarthy. Then 1019 a 1984 Marshall 4-wheel drive. 1983 Marshall 2-wheel drive, also by Kevin McCarthy from Bradley, County Cork. 1925 Fordson X model, owned by Neil O'Callaghan up in Cork. And then 1034 is a David Brown 885, owned by Patrick Murray from Bradley, County Cork. Next up JCB Fast Track, owned by Killian Short, Banniscarton, County Cork. Nine 1957 Fordson Power Major, owned by Liam Collins and Bannon County Cork. 1103 is a 1947 Alice Chambers WC, and that's owned by Pat O'Flynn in Eskeen, County Cork. Then is a 1957 Ferguson 20 owned by Martin and Wright, Bandon County Cork. Only 107 is a 1945 International owned by Marshall O'Sullivan in Innishannon, County Cork. And 1105 is the 1934 Fordson Model by Declan O'Sullivan in Innishannon, County Cork. Next up is a Ford 8210 owned by Brendan Marshall. Is next, that's the 1952 Ferguson 20 owned by Tim Cowie in Innishannon, County Cork. .973 then is a 1974 Massey Ferguson, also owned by Tim Cowie in Innishannon. Matthew Ferguson 165 by Tim Cowie. $1057. 1964 David Brown 990. And behind it is a grinding mill. That's owned by John Quinn Bannister, County Cork. Following that is a Ford 7710, that's owned by Brendan Marshall as well. Next up is 975, which is a 1947 Field Marshall Series 2, and that's owned by Charlie Crowley from Bannister. $1075, 1955 Ford Major. It's owned by John Donovan, Kinsale, County Cork. The sidebar more on that as well. Next up with a baler is a Ford 3000. So next after that is International, 885 XL International. The 969 is next, and that is a 1954 Ford Major, owned by Michael Collins and Band. So behind that is a plough. Can the cars make their way into the field as well? Any cars that are here, will you make your way into the field for the final parade, please? Just gone through there was an International, and following that is a David Brown 885 and Jones Baylor. "1080" comes next, and that's the 1979 David Brown, owned by PJ Ryan from Bandon, County Cork. PJ?